right.
Okay, we can see.
Yeah. All right. Ohayou gozaimasu. Konnichiwa, mina. Anata to koko ni ite awasu. Mayo o arigato. That's all for now. You've just experienced my full level of fluency in Nihongo. It's a pleasure to join you and have such good interpreters to help with the translating. Let's get started. I'm here to speak with you about how to lead skilled agile teams by enabling and investing in their outcomes. We'll use the framework of the Agile Fluency model as a lens. Come on. There. At the Agile Fluency Project, we have a vision. It's shared by more than 100 consultants worldwide who coach and consult in organizations. Our vision is that agile approaches will be done well in every organization that says they're pursuing an agile way of working. That means all software teams in the business practice agile at a level of skilled proficiency that meets or exceeds their business needs. I hope we'll go through, introduce a number of things about that, and then I'll have questions. So please take notes, write down your questions. It's okay to ask your questions in Nihongo. After the first section of slides, I'll answer as many questions here as we have time for. And if the ones that I don't get to, we'll answer by email or online. First, let's clarify what we mean by fluency and fluent teams. Let's think about playing a language, or in any new skill, the fluent use is the thing that you do automatically without thinking. It feels smooth, easy, like a normal, natural routine. We do this even when stress or distractions are present. When we speak our native language, we don't stop to think about it, we just talk. When it's not a skill that we've had from birth or learned as small children, then we have to use learning to acquire the new skill. In other words, fluency in new skills comes as a return on the investment we make in learning both skill and theory. For example, we might want to become a famous concert pianist and composer for the piano. That might take an investment of years of practice and theory and continual exploration of new forms before we gain that automatic ease and fluency. On the other hand, in our life, we might find the most pleasure in learning to play a few pieces well enough to amuse our friends. If we do that well enough to feel smooth and easy with it, we're fluent there and it's enough for us. This is a picture of the Agile Fluency model. As you can see, we've identified 4 zones of fluency for Agile teams. Each zone describes a satisfactory area of fluency, just like in the way that when you become a concert pianist, you have to pass through that zone that allows you to play for friends. Whenever you go to a zone, you need all the skills from the zones before it to really serve our business and our customers. We call these zones focusing, delivering, optimizing, and strengthening. In this talk, we'll focus mostly on the first 3. Very few organizations really want the strengthening zone, but we see it, so we included it in our model. Oop. Come on. One good way to think about what zone you need for your team is to think about what benefits your business needs. For each zone, we have identified a core metric, a description of proficiency that characterizes most of the skilled practices needed in that zone. Think about a team you work with. Does it exhibit fluency, routine, automatic, smooth, skillful ease with one of these core metric descriptions? You could use your reaction icons or something. Do you observe focusing team behaviors with your team, delivering, optimizing? If that's not okay, if not, that's okay. Lots of teams don't. Lots of teams are not yet fluent in the skills required to consider them fully agile. They can become skilled agile teams by attention to learning and to making investments. The good part is that the model points us in the direction for improvement. This slide shows a more extensive group of those observable behaviors. You'll notice that they are categorized by zone and by the type of benefit they bring to their business. Will this proficiency help to reduce risk, increase productivity, increase ROI, increase employee satisfaction? We talked to a number of CIOs and CTOs and found they had a lot of commonality about the benefits they wanted from the work of their teams. We found that these benefits fell into three broad areas: greater transparency, higher achievement, and clearer alignment. With that in mind, we built this chart. We use it in discussions with leaders to discover what team fluency zones will best suit the business outcomes that they seek. Take a moment to consider what zone seems right for the teams you have in mind. That's just the first step. Because remember, skilled agile teams come from an investment in learning. Each zone has a cost in time, effort, patience, attention, not always money, but sometimes. And sometimes the cost may be too high or require uncomfortable trade-offs. Keeping your preferred zone in mind, let's look more closely at the kind of investments you might need. By the way, you can request a PDF copy of this graph by asking us on our website Contact Us form. We send them out to anyone who wants one after every talk, but you have to ask. We won't spam you with it. But if you'd like one, we're happy to send it. So starting with the focusing zone, we show a reminder of the kinds of benefits that are possible here. Transparency. Leaders can see the team's progress in a way that's meaningful to them. Achievement. Product owners and managers partner with the teams to redirect their work if needed. And alignment. The teams will always work on the next most valuable thing. If your team isn't already providing these benefits, then leaders need to enable the teams by investing appropriately. They need to understand and remove impediments to collaborative teamwork. Imagine what that might be. They might set up a system where team members are only working on one product team at a time, and then keep teams together as much as possible. As Scrum suggests, they might provide a product owner or manager to guide the team toward business value and customer satisfaction. They might create a shared physical or virtual workspace for the team. And finally, and maybe most important, they'll help managers make the shift from leading individual contributors to leading teams and managing a workflow system. Would this improve your team's outcomes? Moving on to the delivering zone, here the benefits can be summarized as: first, the ability for the product people to release new features or products anytime the customer would like. Second, teams capturing business value frequently, bringing, by sending out new features more often, they can get payments back or value back for those features. And third, to stay aimed at building the most new features means that defects and hot fixes must be minimized or eliminated as a drag on productive time. So any problem must be identified when it's small and addressed early. And we need to take care of technical debt as soon as we can. If your team isn't already providing these benefits, leaders will need to enable the teams by investing appropriately. If focusing zone investments still are needed, delivering zone teams will need those as well. So we may need to do both at once. In addition, leaders need to understand the learning needs of the team and have patience through learning curves. In general, new learning temporarily lowers productivity while it prepares the team to accelerate once it has gained the new skills. So teams need time to address refactoring and other technical practices as part of their engineering work, not as a special separate thing. New technical disciplines like DevOps, UX, technical writing might be added to the team for advantages of cross-functionality. An investment in skilled practitioner coaches or senior developers who can mentor their teammates may also pay off in more frequent value capture. Would this improve your team's outcomes? It might be more than you need or not enough. Both focusing and delivering zones describe common needs, and with the right investments and expectations for time to see improvements, they fit in the vast majority of software development efforts we see. But there are some businesses who need more from their teams. If you need to innovate in your market or build entirely new disruptive products, you might need teams in the optimizing zone. These whole broadly cross-functional teams take on responsibility for a whole product line, or market. They gain the co-intelligence among team members to make excellent product decisions. This means teams perform more quickly and flexibly because they aren't waiting for decisions or handoffs from outside the team. And the investments are significant. First, the team needs fluency in all the focusing and delivering zone proficiencies. Then besides, teams are restructured to make sure they've included business experts as full-time team members. It can have an impact on hiring priorities. This alone can take significant sponsorship. Then, along with the responsibility for the product or market, the team also has budgeting and planning on its plate. And we look for the rest of the organization to judge these teams based on their results, not on adherence to what may have become an outdated plan. It's not easy, but the investment can pay off in a big way if your products and business will benefit from these teams. Reconsider once again. Focusing, delivering, optimizing, strengthening. When you think about both the benefits and the trade-off of investment, where do you think your team, the team that you have in mind, where do you think they need to be? Do you need them to be a focusing zone team? Do you need them to be a delivering team? Optimizing? It's a very real question because there isn't one size fits all in Agile. Just like there's not one size. Believe me, I've lived all my life in a space that knows that one size does not fit all in clothing, right? So one size does not fit all in teams as well. So we need to make sure that we are giving attention to the things that we really need and then finding a way to make those investments. Does your organization have the will or the ability to invest in cultivating the teams it needs to succeed? If so, that's great. And it's time to get started. If not, how will you adjust your expectations for team outcomes and impact to match the investments you can make? Where will you begin? Write down a couple of notes about where you think you will begin. Are there specific people that you need to talk to? Do you need to understand the teams and their products and the way they work together better? What all do you need? Where will you begin? I think one place to begin is with leaders. I begin by bringing leaders together to consider this question. How do we cultivate teams that produce the benefits our business needs? What are our first steps? I have an idea that's worked well for the organizations that engage with me. Begin by investing in a shift in leader and manager behaviors. To create an environment where skilled agile teams can succeed, every leader needs to understand the reasons for the change and what it will mean for their own behavior. Even before we begin with the teams, starting with the teams is backwards. Cultivate a value for patience, change, learning, new skills. None of it happens overnight. We can't flip a switch, but we can patiently support progress. Model the importance of learning as a path to resilience and co-intelligence as a path to innovative solutions. Help leaders learn to see teams rather than individuals as the unit of performance. When in doubt about what's needed, ask the teams. Begin investing in building trust between the teams and leaders, both engineering leaders and business leaders. Enable skills growth for leaders and set the expectations that they will do the same for their teams. Use social capital to advocate for better team environments. Look for systemic improvements, opportunities. Help managers learn to think in system terms. Systems thinking, the fifth discipline. Choose effectiveness over efficiency every time. While we appreciate efficiency, we value effectiveness more. We want to grow better habits. These are just a few of the leadership behaviors that I think we need to do. Bringing in coaches and mentors for leaders to help them understand what it means to be a leader in this new environment where things are so fast-paced and things are changing all the time. That's a really important piece. And this is a lot, but there are however you learn, think about the way that you as a leader at whatever you are in your organization, you have the opportunity to exhibit either formal or informal leadership. Make sure that you are understanding the way you need to learn and make sure that you're getting the kind of learning you like. Do you prefer to read things? Is that how you learn? Do you prefer to attend courses online or in person? Do you prefer to watch videos? We all have better and less good ways of learning. So understand that for yourself, and then be open to the fact that your teams may have a variety of ways of learning as well. So I know I've given you a lot of food for thought. That's an English idiom that must have a Japanese equivalent. So now it's time for your questions. We got through those slides more quickly than I have ever before. So we'll have question and answer time until our time is short. And then I have a few more fast slides to just close it out. So let's try some questions.
Okay, please ask your questions. Okay, one question from the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Joanna. You mentioned about leaders and business experts having a 100% allocation to the team. Can you clarify, are you referring to 100% allocation to one project team versus another project team, or 100% completely, that's what they're doing?
I was saying 100% team members to a team, that they're not split among different teams. Most organizations can't afford for managers to be, one per team. Although I take that back, some organizations are doing that now, but that's not what we're talking about there. We're talking about team members being 100% allocated, and then product owners or product managers, if you can have one-on-one with teams with them, that's great. But it's more common where, especially with focusing zone teams, where one product owner might be serving a couple of teams or maybe 3. But when the ratio gets a lot higher than that, no team is getting the attention that it needs, and no team is getting its questions answered fast enough, or more complete enough. So they can't build in the way the business needs, because they're not getting what they need to be able to know what to build. I run into that all the time. I don't know if you do or not. Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, waiting for next question.
Oh, there's one that's coming in the chat, I think. It says, I can't see, do you mean leaders to be upper management? Yes and no. I mean, for some of these questions, budgeting questions where we're talking about making really big investments that cost a lot of money, we're probably going to be talking to senior leaders. We're going to be talking to directors, VPs, CTOs, CIOs, somebody in that realm. But leaders can emerge anywhere in the organization. So frontline engineering managers are also leaders. The most senior person on a team is a leader sometimes, maybe not all the time, but sometimes they're going to take the lead because they've got the most experience. So when we're talking about planning investment, I'm talking about middle to upper management, whoever has the budget. But otherwise, I think leaders can emerge from anywhere.
Okay, thank you. And also, we can have. Okay. 大丈夫だと思います。やってみてください。はい、ちょっと日本語でテラスルームから話して。
リーダーシップビヘイビアで振る舞いがいくつかあったと思うんですが、リーダーはそれらの振る舞いをすべて持ち合わせているべきなんでしょうか。それ掛け合わせてリーダーを持ち合わせていればいいのでしょうか。
Yeah. Well, the more every leader can have all those behaviors, the better. But of course, we never get perfection, and we don't get 100%. And I think it's helpful for each leader to look at what skills they already have. Some leaders are already really good at systems thinking, but not so good at being patient. Or some leaders are good at understanding workflow systems, And other leaders are really struggling to make that shift from individual contributors to thinking in terms of workflow. So there, you know, we have to look at each person and find then maybe cohort groups or depending on the size of the organization, what leaders need to learn which skills. And then prioritize those. I mean, that's another kind of investment, right? So we've got to prioritize how we are going to make that investment and make sure that we're addressing it in that way. So does every leader need every single skill on that slide plus more? Probably not, but I would like to see leaders working in teams where all of those skills are present among the team members of that leadership team and can then be represented in the way that they create environments for the team. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question. The difference between effectiveness and efficiency. Yes. You know, it's interesting. In the English language, there's a very clear difference. In some languages, like Swedish, for instance, I learned they use the same word to mean both things. So what efficiency is doing things in the most ordered and clear step-by-step kind of way that maybe finds the fastest path somewhere by following the steps. Effectiveness means let's do the thing that, while it might mean some redundancy over here, it might mean some backing up and then going forward again, but it gets us, it's a better path to get us to the outcome that we want. Efficiency is not always the way to the best outcome. It's a cost-effective way to think in terms of Toyota production system and lean. It may eliminate a lot of the wastes. Efficiency may eliminate a lot of wastes, but sometimes you need some of those wastes to give you some cushion to be able to be more effective. And so there's some wisdom in figuring out what that balance is. And so that's really the difference. And I don't know in Japanese if it's one word for, you know, it's a one-to-one match in terms of words. But in English, there's two. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Kinichi Inui.
OK、他にご質問あったら日本語でも大丈夫です。ホールの方、それからズームの方からでもお話しいただけます。
声入ってますか？入ってます。そうですね。先ほどお話でリーダーとメンバーの間の信頼関係に対して投資をするっていうお話があったんですけど、その投資ってどういうものかがちょっと想像がつかなかったので教えてほしいです。
Okay. All right. Actually, and in a minute, I'm going to show you a slide that has the books on it. One of the books is a book I'm working on right now with Tricia Broderick called Lead Without Blame. And we're going to be talking about these kinds of things. But the trust between leaders and their teams gets built on the same way other, trust between any two humans gets built. It has to do with following through on the things you say you're going to follow through on, being reliable, being trustworthy, stepping in to ensure that the team has the kind of psychological safety that they need, and making sure that when that's violated, there's a cost to that, or a clear response to that. All of those kinds of things that build trust between people, and that has to do with also leader needs to show that they trust the team as well, that they have confidence in the kind of skills that the team has built, and then they're not going to come in and second guess their decisions. Those kinds of things. It's a whole, that so much has been written about building trust and so on, and it's all of the above. But that it's that creating that human connection between the leader and the team, while recognizing and making transparent that there is a power dynamic there, that there is a difference in power structure in an organization between somebody who's got a management title and somebody who doesn't, that there's influence over that person's career, over that person's performance review, all kinds of things. And so that has to be taken into account, that exists. And even in the face of that, we still treat each other with respect. We treat each other with caring. We are open to feedback when something is going wrong, and we work our way through it. All of those things all those things I've said. I'll start repeating myself now. but there is a lot out there built. Stephen Covey wrote a book called At the Speed of Trust. Everything that has to do with how it would work between you and me, if we wanted to trust each other more, I would need to make sure that I'm acting in a trustworthy way, and I would need to behave in a way that shows that I trust you until you show me otherwise that I shouldn't, right? And then we build from there. And that's the same dynamic is there between the leader and a team of people. It's not that different. Human systems are kind of fractal. People, teams, organizations, they all have a lot of the same kind of things going on. Thank you for that question.
ありがとうご
It's
ざい
an
ます。
interesting one. Yeah.
するとそれはリーダーが何かをするっていうリーダー側のやることっていうことで合ってますか？それともまだメンバー側が、メンバーがすることも、メンバーがする投資もありますか？ちょっと難しいかな。
Oh no, it's two-way. But because of that power differential thing, because there's that power dynamic, the leader needs to trust first. The leader needs to be the one to say, I'm going to behave as a trustworthy way toward you all as a team. And I'm going to trust you to do the work that I've asked you to, that we've decided that you're going to do, you've decided to take responsibility for. I will be interacting with you, we'll be having conversations, but I'm going to trust you to make the right decisions. And those kinds of things, that needs to come first from the leader. And then it needs to be met on the other side with the same thing coming back. And then it grows over time.
ありがとうございます。聞きたいことが聞けましたって言ってる間に皆さんきっとそろそろ並びますよね。
Great.
こんにちは。質問させてください。ですね、まず、そのリーダーっていうのは、何かを貢献する人なのか、それとも何かを決める人、例えば、なんか方針を決めるとか、アーキテクチャを決めるとか、なんかそういう決める人なのか、それともそうじゃなくて、 そのチームをバックアップしてというか、チームを下から支える貢献をする人なのか、なんかすごくそこがなんか混乱、私はしています。
Yeah,
で、チームと自律的な、ただ、
yeah.
チームは自律的に動いているところで、そのリーダーっていうのは、どんな立ち位置なんでしょうか。この辺のところを説明していただけますか。
Well, so there are many kinds of leaders. There isn't just one leader and one team necessarily. So depending on where the leader sits, they're going to have, and depending on the organization, policies and procedures and things like that, there will be different, how would I want to say, different permissions around who makes which decisions. There need to be some decisions that are made by the team that's doing the work. I mean, that's one of the, the main tenets of Lean and the main tenet of Deming and all those folks is every decision needs to be made closest to the work. But some decisions, as you pointed out, are about business direction. And so there's a set of people who are closest to that work that we often call leaders in the organization. And those are decisions that are appropriate for them to make and then communicate to everybody else to support the other decisions other people need to make. And so it depends on where you sit as a leader, what your line of sight is, how many teams are you engaged with? If it's a one-to-one first line manager with one team, that's going to be a little different relationship than a director or a vice president. That's why I'm saying there are lots of leaders in organizations. There are leaders all over the place, but they're doing different jobs. And so we need to be clear about, what is my job? What is the work I'm closest to that nobody else can do? And those are the decisions that I hope my organizational structure is encouraging me to make and then communicate to everyone else who needs to understand those. And the team needs to, sometimes needs to communicate the decisions they've made back the other direction. Because that might influence some other team's work or someone else in the organization. So, so when I say leader, I'm being very broad in that description, and I'm aware of that. And then, but different organizations handle titles and leadership roles so differently that you really can't generalize too much about it. So that's the best I can do for you. Yeah.
ありがとうございます。じゃあ、そうすると、マネージャーは、マネージャーというのはリーダーに含まれていると考えてよろしいですね。
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they have.
ありがとうございます。
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's all you needed to know. Okay. Sometimes I over-explain. Just let me know if I'm doing that. There's one in the chat from Rim. Can you tell me what leaders do in the strengthening process in the Agile Fluency project? In that zone, generally those are very small organizations. We don't see strengthening teams in very, very large organizations. And so when we say that the teams are engaged in helping to make organizational decisions, it's because it's a very flat structure in a very small organization. So there still may be somebody who needs to go and talk to the investors and the bankers and handle all those things. And those would definitely be upper level leaders, to what extent that there's an upper level. And then their job becomes asking the teams, what else do you need to get your work done? What are you missing? How can I help? Once we've agreed on the work that the teams are taking responsibility for, Then in the strengthening zone, the leaders are just saying, okay, so how do I help you get that done? What do you need from me? And there's more detail to it and more nuance than that. But at a broad brush, that's basically what's happening in those organizations, because there may be a team and some other sort of staff, finance and HR, and then maybe the owner and CEO of the company. That's where we tend to see strengthening zone teams, because they need such close communication. And once an organization starts growing, it's hard for them to maintain that kind of communication channels. The communication overhead just becomes too great. And then they either become they have more optimizing zone teams than strengthening zone teams. Jutta Eckstein and John Buck are doing a lot of work in this area. I think they do a really good job of describing how both optimizing and strengthening zone teams can work in their book called something about corporate agility, Bossa Nova, Beyond Budgeting, Open Space, Sociocracy, and Agile. And they talk a lot about Agile Fluency in their book. That when we start looking at these ways of working together that are much, much different kinds of governance systems than we usually see in big corporations or even mid-sized businesses, it requires those really tight, that tight ability for fast communication to go throughout the organization. And the bigger an organization gets, the more difficult that is, and so to a point where it becomes impossible. You're welcome, Tim.
はい、じゃあちょっとテラスルームの方から、
質問があります。
でしょう
よ
か。
ろしいですか？
川口です。今日は素晴らしいところありがとうございます。少し今日のアジャイルフルエンシモデルの話題からは少しずれて、少しメタというか大きな話題で、個人的にダイアナさんにいつも質問したいなと思ってたことがでも
That's fine. You can ask me anything, really. I don't care.
ダイアナさんと私会ったのがすごくよく覚えてるのはサンディエゴのカンファレンスだったと思う。
Mm-hmm.
で、
Yeah.
ハンターインダストリーズの、トーク
Yes.
だったと思います。で、私もハンターインダストリーズ知らない方に一応説明する。ハンターインダストリーズはモブプログラミングって今日本でも皆さん取り組まれているそのやり方の元人たちがいる会社なんですね。ダイアナさん、ハンターの方たちともとてもよく仲良くて、何度も聞かれています。で、私たちもちろんハンターで働くわけではないので、私もハンターに遊びに行って、彼のやってることを詳細に話を聞いたり観察をしたりして、で、私たちのやり方に生かしていこうとして、ダイアナさんはいつもこうしたケーススタディというものをどれぐらい通りに行って、でどういうふうにそれをプラクティス、自分のメソドロジーに昇華させる。英語ごめんなさいね。どうやって
Okay.
テクノメソドに変えているのか。
Yeah. Well, I talked with them about the Agile Fluency model very early on. I mean, we talked about the model for years there, and way back when Woody before Chris was the manager, when Woody was still the manager, I came in. Yeah, right. I have been there many times. And actually, my son Willem went to work there, and he created the mob programming role-playing game that you could find on GitHub. They are doing their own thing, right? But I think when I look at them, I think they are mostly working toward delivering zone teams. Some of their teams are very fluent in the delivering zone. They want frequent delivery. They want to be close to their customer and meet their customer's cadence and so on. And so there's a lot that they do that fits our model. And I've been on their podcast, and yeah, we are in very close touch, but they aren't necessarily part of the Agile Fluency project. But definitely it's a conversation. I see benefits, huge benefits in mob programming. They see benefits in what I do, but we each pursue our own, the own idea that we're trying to put forward. But yeah, great friends. I know Chris has visited Japan and has gotten much better at speaking Japanese than I have, for sure. So, and I think, and yes, no, I think you and I met even before San Diego. I think we met at earlier conferences than that.
Yes.
Mostly just hanging out in the lunchroom hall.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
そう、ちょっと質問を続けたいんですけど、その、すごくアジャイルの重要なメッセージの一つが、いろいろな現場、いろいろなワークプレイスには、それぞれの状況があって、でそれぞれのプラクティスがあると。それを自分たちで、作り上げて改善していく。で、なんですけど、そのダイアナさんみたいなそのプラクティトロジーを作られている方、まとめられる方は、それをうまくその抽象化をして、メソドロジーにしなきゃいけないと思うんですけど。
Yeah. This talk was about leading teams. And so I focused so much on the leaders of the teams here. I didn't focus nearly as much on what's going on with the teams or how we work with the teams. And actually, part of my closing slides, I could show you that. But one of the things that we do is, we work with leaders. We ask them to identify what zones would you like your teams to be in. And then we go in and we talk to the teams, and we either do an online assessment or a paper and pencil assessment, or sometimes we just sit and observe. And we look for what kinds of things is this team doing that reflect the behaviors that we want in the Agile Fluency model, and which things are they not doing. And then we talk to them about, and we have a process for that. And then we talk to them about, do they think they need to be, do they want to be where the rest of the organization would like them to be, if they're already feeling comfortable in the focusing zone, but their leaders in the organization want them to be in the delivering zone. Well, then we talk about that. And we work with them to decide, okay, so what do you want to see happen? If you'd like to be in the delivering zone, what do you need? Ask the team, what do you need? What are you trying to do on your own? Where do you need support? What kind of investment do you need from other parts of the organization? And we collect all that information together, and then we collect that from a lot of different teams in an organization. We summarize it. And then we bring that back to the people who have the budget, the people who can okay changes. And we say, here are some recommendations. These are some things the teams have asked for. And then we work with the leaders again to create an investment plan to provide those teams either the support that they need or, you know, whatever it might be. And then the coaches work with the teams to implement the investment plan. So if they're learning TDD, for instance, the coaches work with the team to find a TD trainer that they like and want to work with, and then they bring that in. So that the teams are very much in charge of their own development. What we do is help them. They very often don't know how to communicate what they need, or they feel like they've been blocked. And so what the Agile Fluency model can do, and the people who work using the Agile Fluency model can do, is we can become that channel to help teams ask for what they need and to encourage leaders to listen to what the teams are asking for, because it's good business. And the teams often don't frame it that way, right? They want to do it because it's good engineering, or it'll, you know, make a better program or whatever. And that often isn't as meaningful to business people. But if we say, you know, this is linked to the business outcomes that you're getting, how quickly, how often you're capturing value back to your organization, how well you're serving your customers, these investments will help the teams do those things that you want to see happen. Then it makes a difference. And so we serve as kind of a communication channel using the Agile Fluency model as a kind of a common way of talking about what's going on. And there, you know, there's other whole presentations that are more about just the team part. But today was mostly about the leader part. And so it's, you know, there's a lot.
ありがとうございます。一つ、今ちょっと追加で一つ、私たち、そのアジャイルというものをやるときに、そのやり方と、これまでのやり方と違うのは、チームであったら、チームの一人一人が何を考えているのかということに、ちゃんと観察をして、ジャッジをしていくと。一人一人をちゃんと人間を見る目というのが、これまでと違ったのかなと認識しています。で、今、フルエンシモデルもそれ多分同じで、リーダー一人一人、だからリーダーが置かれている状況一つ一つに、ちゃんと寄り添って、
Yeah. Right. Right.
これは通常のリーダーはこうあるべきだっていう、このすごく協情的なリーダーのあり方っていうのは、日本でもよくやられてるんですけど、それと比べてすごく与える的な。
Right.
ありがとうございます。
Yeah. 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 You're welcome. Thank you. I think that's all the time we have for questions. I have a couple more slides I want to get to before my time is up. So I'm going to do that. If you have more questions, please feel free to email them to me, go to our website, put them in the contact us form there, connect with me on LinkedIn, just say, hey, I saw you at the Tokyo conference, and ask me questions there. I'm always open. I'm always open to those questions. But 30 more minutes. Oh my gosh, that's right. Okay, I forgot about that. So we can keep going, or I could give everybody a break. What do you think? Do people want to do more questions?
I think there's no more questions in the room.
Yeah, so what I would like to do is give you an opportunity to get together, either, I don't know if you're doing breakout rooms for the people online, but for the people who are there in the room, I'd love to give you an opportunity to get together in groups of 3 or 4 people and talk about this and try to make your own sense of it and come up with new questions that you want to send to me. And I will make sure that those get answered. But I also want to go through this last slide. So thank you so much for inviting me. I hope you continue to have a wonderful conference. I only wish I could have joined you in Tokyo. I would love to have come back to Tokyo. In case you'd like to learn more about the Agile Fluency Project, we have lots of resources on our website. And we also have some new and upcoming books. Jim Shore's brand new Art of Agile Development, 2nd edition just came out, and we've got books coming out in next year. This is some of the supporting materials. We have a diagnostic. The improvement cycle talks a lot about some of the questions you were asking about how do we work with leaders. These are all things that artifacts that we give to our licensed facilitators so that they can use in their practice. So I just wanted to share those with you and let you see that there's the model, but there's a whole lot more as well. And all of those things you can find on our website, and we're always open to questions about those things as well. So please take the time to get together with some other folks who are there on site with you or in the online world on Zoom, and have a rich conversation about what you heard this morning and how it applies to you and where your teams are and what you'd like to see happen for them, what kind of investments you'd like to see happen for them. So again, thank you very much. And I look forward to the time when I can come and visit you in Tokyo again. And we can see each other at a conference again. Yes, no. Yeah. So, bye.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.